Good afternoon, Crystal. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you, Jevon? Happy week before Christmas. I think we're at now 8 days before the
Yeah,
holidays.
something like
So,
that. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't feel like a holiday is coming. I think Thanksgiving surprised me just because there's so much going on, you know. But you're right. We're here, and
we're here.
fortunately, I get to hang out with you a little bit. That's cool.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, that's cool. And you're doing okay.
I am good. I am good. Looking for this year to be over. I always do better in even years. Odd years are a little unnerving.
All right. That's cool. That's cool. I can
It's
see
my
that.
own
I can
thing.
see that. Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
this is
I'm
a
well.
good, good. Well, this is an interesting topic. It's about how you have to really watch your investment committee. Yeah, I
Mm,
know many of the clients that you deal with, they are starting retirement plans, and some of them, those retirement plans are growing, and so they're looking at, all right, as this thing grows and the responsibilities become real. That is, there's real money in here. Um, how do I protect myself? So we're talking a little bit about that. So
okay.
first, let me read your bio,
Hmm.
and and then we'll jump right in, if that's cool.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jevon Thomas with Jevon Thomas Retirement Plan Consultants. I'm a 401k advisor, and I specialize in 401ks. And with me is the amazing Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant, the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co director of Recycling Black Dollars, co host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, that other weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, financial strategist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the woman who never sleeps, Crystal Mitchell. Oh my God. Goodness
I'm
gracious.
trying though. I swear I'm trying.
I guess. Well, before we get started on our topic of the day, I wanted to put a quick plug in for our guest next week, which is going to be Jerry Citarella. He's actually a financial advisor here in Orange County, and he's a little bit different than I am. Whereas I focus on 401k plans and getting people to retirement,
Hmm.
Jerry focuses on getting people to retirement outside of the 401k plan, but also helping them get through the transition to what we call decumulation. That is, how do you spend that money while you're in retirement? So, we're going to have a very interesting conversation with him. Let me just read his bio really quick. So, for 35 years of experience in the financial services industry, Jerry has served as a manager, estate and investment specialist, trainer, business owner, and mentor. He's currently a partner at Prosperitas Financial, where he oversees the Irvine office, while remaining fully active as an independent, fully serviced financial advisor. So not only does he help clients, but he actually runs the office. But he's still on the street, as it were, as I like to say. Works closely with clients to identify their goals and needs and helps them develop strategies to achieve them. He also hosts an ongoing educational video series, of which one, yours truly, had the pleasure of being a part of once, and that
Oh,
was
how cool!
was
Awesome.
really cool. Yeah. So that's Jerry. Okay, we're going to talk about that investment committee and how, if you're an HR committee person, or you're the owner of a business, or you are an HR person, how you really want to pay attention to that. So I think, just to kick things off, most people don't realize how important the investment committee is, right? Um, and I think the reason is that they just think it's the 401k plan. In many situations, you've got an advisor, you've got a large organization, and they are running stuff, right? I mean, they are taking care of business. The money comes in, they put it in the plan, they're professional, things are rolling good. They send you notices when you need to do things. So things are pretty normal. But unfortunately, that's that's not such a good thing. So your investment committee actually does the major decision making. And if your investment committee doesn't do it, then it falls to the HR person, and that's not good. So if you happen to be an HR consultant, or you
Mm-hmm.
happen to be someone in HR, of which we have to remember there is no course at a university about investing in a 401k plan. So it isn't like this is always common knowledge.
Right.
So you have to be kind of careful with that. So often, though, when a decision has to be made, if you don't have an investment committee, the HR staff usually ends up making that decision. The problem with that is they're not really trained. They don't necessarily have that fiduciary responsibility or mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
so, they may not document, right? And that's the whole deal. If it isn't documented, it didn't happen. As my
Mm-hmm.
old boss used to say, if it ain't there, it ain't there. So one of the things that I like to say, there's a line when I was doing my research that says, a retirement committee that only exists on paper is like a seatbelt you never buckle. It won't protect anyone when the crash comes. Right. So the thought is that when it comes to that investment committee, that retirement investment committee, you want to make sure that they are empowered to actually get into that document and make sure things that are coming down the track are properly taken care of, and that things that are actually changing, funds, share classes, fees, expenses, whatever it is, that they're on top of that. And I'll tell you why. I've never seen anyone, any company, sued uh, because because their expenses were too high.
Mm.
I have seen them sued because their expenses were too high based on other plans that are just like that, and they couldn't document why that was the case,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So the line says it. If you don't if you're not wearing your seatbelt, it doesn't matter in the crash, right?
Right.
So the question is, the problem that we keep running into with investment committees is, people, they name them but they don't train them. They don't tell them this is what your fiduciary responsibility is, and this is what it means. Fiduciary means, in this case, jointly and severally, right? So
Mm.
somebody's assets are on the line that you're making decisions with. And the worst thing in the world is for the plan and or the owner to have to pay a bill because the HR committee or the investment committee didn't make a good decision,
Mm.
or didn't put that amendment in, or made the mistake on these participants, and now the plan needs to pay, or somebody needs to make this situation right. And it's usually the plan sponsor. It's
Right.
usually not the participants. So
Hmm. Um, do you think in this day and age, the potential of that becoming more of a common occurrence is is possible because of the fact that we're living in some unprecedented times right at the present moment, as opposed to say 10, 15, 20 years ago when you know I've always thought that anything to do with your retirement, anything to do with the employees' money, that was being monitored by a some other legal entity were basically hands off. No one would even consider going into the pension fund. Not that it wasn't didn't happen from time to time, but it wasn't a common practice, so to speak. Do you think
sure.
that what we're going through now is kind of we're in a we're in some very uncharted waters.
I think you're making a really good point. I think for and I don't have any studies to back this up, but my general sense is that we are becoming more and more litigious. And I think part of that is because people are feeling more and more stressed about getting their bills taken care of, being able to hit their goals, children to do better than their parents are. So money is becoming a thing, and it's becoming a thing for a larger and larger group of people, right? That group at the top is getting smaller and smaller. So I think where I believe where you're going is because we do live in a society that is a bit more hectic. We are becoming more sue happy, if that's a word, and that means that more than ever, the investment committees have got to make sure their ship is tight. They need to make sure that the amendments are taken care of. They need to make sure that they're getting them. In point, I'm working on a plan where we didn't have a document that was signed. Now, so of course, you would think, well, this is a 401k plan. They've got a signed document, right? But the attorney that was working on that plan with us said, if you don't have a signed document, you can't take money out of people's paychecks. And so for the last, I don't know how long, however long you've had this plan, you've been taking this money out. That's illegal. Just a little
Yeah.
signature, right? And that's ugly. That could mess up a whole lot of people's lives,
And
right?
that's what I'm saying. It seems like that would have been, years ago, that would have been something that wouldn't have gone unnoticed or unchecked, right? In order for me to do the next part, even someone in the accounting department, because that's really kind of where when I worked in corporate America, I was kind of in the accounting department. So if an expense came through, or especially if we were pulling something from an employee's paycheck, we had to have backup material. We had to, what instigated this, and then we put together, this is the retirement plan, because in the accounting area, in accounts, you got to know what line item, what chart of account line item, according to GAAP, general accounting practices, this has to be applied to, right? And then at the end of the year, we always had to do a, a reconciliation of everything, so that we would, when we produced the payroll documents, everything was in compliance, right? With the reports, the numbers were the same, and everything had an allocation, especially if the company was in a position where they had to do audits. And so, that's kind of interesting that something like that could go unchecked.
It just goes to show that so many of us get so fast in our lives there, and so much of our lives are automated, and they're becoming more and more automated that we just sometimes we just don't check the box, and that's why, like we were talking about last time, that's why um, there are attorneys out there, and I'm not pointing fingers at attorneys. There are people out there that know that, and they are coming after small and medium sized companies, and they're winning big cases because of little things that are getting through the cracks. Uh,
Mm.
the signature wasn't signed. Oh, the investment committee didn't make that decision, or oh, that documentation's not there. So why did you make that decision? You can't prove why you made it. You can't even prove that you made the decision because the minutes of the meeting aren't there, right?
Oh, so the minutes of the meeting not there, so nobody. Yeah, wow. Yeah, okay.
Right? Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Then in actuality, it doesn't exist.
pretty much, right? If you can't prove it exists, right?
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So, what is that plan sponsor? What can they do, or what can that HR consultant person do to make sure that they protect their the plan sponsors, their HR committees, and ultimately their clients, which would be the employees.
Mm.
First thing to do is I'm going to say have quarterly meetings. If you can do quarterly meetings, you got to do that. That's the big one. Have a quarterly meeting. It doesn't have to be a long meeting, right? But have a quarter meeting, have some place in a file where you have on a piece of paper, we met, we decided to leave everything the same, we're good, right? Have a quarterly meeting. Do that. Document that you have quarterly meetings. It shows that you've been watching the plan. Sometimes that's
Mhm.
all you need. Yeah, we watched the plan. We knew this was happening. We didn't think we needed to change it because we think that's good for our participants or whatever, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, the other is take minutes in the meeting. Do the minutes. I mean, now you can have AI do the minutes and then you can sign off on them. You don't even have to have someone write them all down. But even if you do have someone writing them down, they don't have to write down verbatim what was said, just the main topics that were covered, the motions that happened, the agreements that came upon, that kind of thing, and
Right.
put that in your little folder so that you know it's there. Um, and the and that's the whole deal. I think this time and last time, if there's anything that I could say is important, is document everything. You just have to document. That is the deal. And I'm not saying you have to have some huge page or anything like that, but you got to document. Okay. The other thing is, I would say is if you don't have an investment committee, then it's your HR group that this is going to fall on, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
often when the HR group gets together, not that any of us has tons of time, but often often the HR person, if there's a person or a committee or if there's two or three people, they have so much to do because they're handling payroll, employment, well, what workers comp. They're handling all kinds of stuff, and the 401k is just one little thing. But I
Mhm.
would say somebody from that HR group, someone from various members groups of the company need to be present, and they need to document that they met, and they need to make sure that you rotate people from time to time. Let's get some fresh eyes on this. Let's make
Right.
sure, right, that we're not just looking at the same old stuff. And last but not least, something that a couple of the advisors I work for or work with have done, and that is make sure that you do some training as an advisor, that you get that training as an advisor.
Right. Exactly.
That
Exactly.
fiduciary training. Yeah. Everybody on that committee needs to know, hey, fiduciary means this is my responsibility. This could be jointly and severally responsible. I am supposed to make sure that we have the right funds, that the funds aren't expensive or too expensive, that we have a well diversified portfolio. All of those things. Train your people to be fiduciarily educated and sound.
Yeah. And I said, when I worked in that space or in the accounting space, uh, there are procedures that are set up because of the fact, especially payroll. Payroll is one place you do not play with because of the federal government. You have to, you're sending your deposits to make sure that they're on time, and normally that is set up if you, and most people use a payroll system, either ADP or Paychecks or one of those. There's like three of them out there. And so those deposits, you're calculating that in that payroll. And because payroll is usually somewhere between, with all of the benefits and payments that have to go along with that, your payroll sometimes could be almost 45 to 60% of a budget, of an operating budget. And so even before companies can, when they start seeing that they're having a cash flow struggle, they usually, that's the first place they go to, it's payroll, right? Because they got to decide how they're going to cut, and that's where you will start to trim your fat there. And supplies and things like that, that are variable expenses, not fixed expenses. And so for that to have slid through is quite interesting. And that they're not doing, because quarterly you have to do that just to make sure that you're in line with your how much money you need to pay on a biweekly or a semi-monthly a schedule, um, because you got to have the deposit. The payroll deposit has to go into the bank account, and typically it's highly recommended by most accounting professionals that it be a separate entity, a separate bank account from your general account, and make which makes it very easy to understand, to know how much money is going in and out, because the money is being transferred in from the general. Then when you reconcile for that month, then that bank account pretty much zeroes out, because then that lets you know everything has been taken care of. So if you're doing that part, then in order to get to there, we would have had to send documentation, signed documentation, over to the payroll, because they could also be implemented in this, right?
Mhm.
Because they're pulling the
Oh,
money out, sending the money to wherever is going,
hopefully.
hopefully. And if it's not going there and those are in place and you're pulling it out of the employee's check, then there has to be a check and balance system going on. So,
Well said. I think the big thing that you're talking about there is what we've been talking about all along, and that is you need a paper trail.
you need a
And the
paper
only way you're
trail.
going to get that paper trail is documentation.
Yes.
So you need to have the documentation for everybody's safety. You can see where the money came from. You can see where it went. You can see where the money came from. You can see where it went. And you have that on record. And you, as the HR committee, investment committee, you understand that, right?
Yes.
So that's it.
Yes. For
So
sure.
that's our show for today. Let
Okay.
me read your bio one last time, unless you had another comment.
No, no, no. That just it's all about record keeping.
All about that, all about that documentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome or say goodbye today to Crystal Mitchell for a week. Don't get it twisted. She's a business coach and consultant, CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's the co director of Recycling Black Dollars, a co host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. That's another weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. I'm Jevon Thomas at Jevon Thomas Retirement Plan Advisors, and we'd like to say so long, but really quick, I just got to put in another plug for Jerry, who's going to be here next week. Jerry Citarella, 35 years of experience in the financial services industry. That means he's a little younger, a little older than me. Uh, yeah. Family man, business owner, estate and investment specialist. He's currently a partner at Prosperitas Financial, where he oversees the Irvine, California office, and still works with clients. Still a full
Okay.
service advisor. So he's got some really good insights for us, and I'm really excited about chatting with him. Um, Also, especially because I was on his show. So he gets
Mm.
to come on our show. So that's
Ah.
kind of cool. Anyway, that's all I have for you this week. So anything else, Crystal?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then we will see you all next week on the patio.
All righty. Bye bye, everyone. Have a great week.